Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Hello and welcome to Calgary's podcast with Mario Tonaguzzi on Canada's Podcast Network. Joining me today is Andre Salazar, Zach Tambasco, and Guillermo Borges, who basically run ALLPA vertical farms in Calgary. Thanks, gents, for joining us today.
Thank you, guys, for having us.
Mario, thank you.
All right, let me just start by asking you, and anybody can jump in. Just tell me what ALLPA Vertical Farms is and what you guys do.
Yeah, I can take that one, Mario. Basically, we want to be the best microgreen company, not just in Calgary, but in Canada. And yeah, that is at the very core of everything we do. So we grow our product with very local initiatives. Our seeds are Canadian. They're non-GMO and organic certified. The packages are Canadian. And that ties into our charitable initiatives. Every package has a donation built into it. And what that means is after we cover our costs, 5% of everything we make goes to charities. And we actually let our followers choose. So on our Instagram, we hold a poll. And we'll usually have two charities, and we have it that way because it's transparent. We don't want to be making that call. We want to let our community choose what charities we're supporting. So we're just providing them a voice and just executing on what they want to do. But we're also very focused on technology, and that's really one of the biggest things for us. We looked at the microgreen space, and Andre can tell you more about this later. But we looked at the microgreen space and saw that there was a gap. We think that there's more that can be done. And we looked at agriculture in general and thought, okay, there's, farming equipment, sure. But what's really being done to grow and push the technology of growing? And yeah, there was a gap there and we thought maybe we could fill it. So that's how this company started. And so far it's gone pretty good.
What do you guys grow?
So far, we have 4 products. It's mostly microgreens, but we're looking at expanding beyond that in the future. But yeah, right now we have arugula, broccoli, radish, and sunflower microgreens, each with its own benefits and trade-offs. And we're looking at putting out 2 new products towards Q3, Q4 of 2021.
Oh, okay. Then can you tell me a little bit about the history of how you guys started and why you started and when?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Andre. I'm the guy with the initial idea. Basically, I'm an engineer by trade, and I have an experience as being a farmer as well. I'm from Colombia, so I came here to Canada when I was 14 as a refugee. And one day, I was wondering what I can contribute to society. And one of the things that I'm passionate about is science and technology. And it turns out there was a gap. As Guillermo said, there was a gap in agriculture. It needs a little bit of an upgrade. And so I put in together my experience as a farmer and my practical skills as an engineer. And yeah, I came up with this idea. And then actually I met these guys at Lowe's working at Lowe's. So I brought up the idea, and Guillermo was more in the business side. So that was something that I was lacking on. I had the engineer, the science down, but he was more the business guy. So I told him how, I wanted to do this thing, but I didn't know how to bring it to life, to reality. And so, he jumped in and helped me. Zach as well. Zach has some experience as being a farmer as well. So he jumped in. He also knows how to weld. That's another thing. We make these things ourselves. So back then I was starting to learn how to weld, and Zach jumped in and he's like, you know what? I know a little bit about welding, and so we started playing around. And yeah, the 3 of us somehow met up and decided to start this.
So we started at Lowe's.
Yeah.
What year was this?
Late 2019, I believe. Maybe early 2019.
Okay. So all 3 of you were at Lowe's. Were you in university or at that time? Or?
Yeah. So at the time, Andre was in physics at U of C, and I was at Mount Royal. I was doing a major in marketing with a minor in innovation and entrepreneurship. So it kind of worked really well.
And Zach, what were you taking?
For me, I went to Mount Royal a little bit after, but I actually moved here in 2018, and I met these guys, and that's kind of how we were starting it. But I did take courses to get into business, and then prior, I was at NATE to get into welding. That's where the background for that comes.
Okay, super. And where are you from, Zach?
From Edmonton, Alberta. I was born there, and I lived a little bit east in Sherwood Park on a farm.
Okay, super. And Guillermo, where's your origins and nationality from?
Yeah, I'm originally from Venezuela. So I came to Canada in 2014.
Wow.
Been here.
Tell me a little bit about this industry itself, and why you think it's, I guess, a growing area in the country. Consumers are looking for this type of stuff.
Yeah, so I believe we definitely see a gap there and that needs to be filled, and people are willing to support farms that are more environmentally focused, and that are able to grow and create jobs as well. On the meantime, and so we see this movement to more local growing food, and this demand for more local businesses, right? So especially because of COVID. We also seen that the farm industry, as it is right now, is not sustainable, not only environmentally, but economically as well. So you see all these migrants coming into the country to fulfill these jobs that Canadians don't want to do. And I think that's a huge issue. And so if we're able to combine those, create a technology that is able to grow these plants in such an economically way, we can also create the jobs and the freshness that people are looking for as well.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead, Guillermo.
Just to add a little bit to that, something that we saw as a real opportunity is people are looking for local, and especially in the wake of COVID, that became really apparent. Like there's so much exposure, but also we saw an opportunity to kind of transcend what it meant to be like a food company. And we looked at it as, why not have a bigger overarching impact? Like often people can't tell you what brand their lettuce is or their carrots are. It's almost like a commodity. We wanted to make it a brand and make it something that people can resonate and identify with and go, this is a product that I feel good about. So that's where we also saw an opportunity from a business and marketing standpoint, where it just wasn't being done in the industry. Now there's been a little bit more of that, but we still think there's massive opportunities to be taken.
And where does the stuff get grown? Like where do you harvest everything?
I think our head of production can tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, basically we have a warehouse about over 1,200 square feet, and we have machines essentially that grow it. So we have to monitor it and everything. And that's kind of we it's just a little bit east into Calgary. So
okay, you know what I find this interesting because fairly recently, I did a story on Sobeys have those vertical farms in many of their stores, and so you're seeing a lot of that trend going on. And speaking of stores, where do you sell the stuff?
So as of right now, we're at 4 Sunterras, all the ones in Calgary, including one in Red Deer.
Oh, cool.
As well as the Italian Center here in Calgary.
Beautiful. Next time I drop in there for some cold cuts and some buns, I'll check it out.
There you go. On the top shelf.
Yeah. The name itself, maybe somebody could describe how the name came about. The ALLPA. What does ALLPA stand for?
So sorry, I can take that one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so ALLPA is the goddess in the Inca culture. She's supposed to be the goddess of fertility. And so the Incas used to pray to this goddess for a better harvest, very fruitful harvest. The Incas used to also have aquaponics. So they used to grow their vegetables in water. But with fish as well. So we obviously do it differently. We just do it with water, not fish. But I always found that interesting that they figure that out, having, the fish helping to grow these vegetables in water. I thought that was really cool. So that's how the name came about.
And it's kind of a funny thing because with the way we do things, there's no need to pray for a fruitful harvest. It's guaranteed 365 no matter the weather. So that's another thing that we think is unique about vertical farming or technology supported farming, where you're not relying on the weather, you're not relying on the rain, it's very, very controlled, and we think there's going to be a need for a lot more of that in the future.
Okay, so you guys are all fairly young. I'm taking you're probably in your mid 20s or so, right?
Yeah.
So what's it like to be entrepreneurs? Like, what do you like most about being an entrepreneur?
For me, it's the problem solving. I obviously there's stress and a bunch of other things that come with that, but for me, I like the reward after you fix an issue. So, for example, recently we had a bit of a breakthrough where we increased airflow to one of our crops, and the yields went up like 30%. So things like that for me are very rewarding because it feels like we're pushing the envelope on what can be done.
Yeah.
And we're constantly improving. That's one of my favorite things.
How about you guys, Zach and Andre?
Yeah, I like the we have a kind of, it's exciting for to have a new kind of product and have the local kind of initiative to it. And I think it's awesome because we get so much recognition from people and they enjoy it, and that's rewarding for me too, because it's like, oh yeah, we buy your stuff all the time. It's like, thank you so much. It's incredible. So
for me, it's like, it's kind of tough, but to put it into words, but it's more like the mission, it's having to do things different, to bring product that it's unique.
Yeah.
It's just better in every way. It's not just helping me, it's also helping the community. I feel like entrepreneurs are misunderstood as just like trying to make money.
Yeah, greedy.
That's not necessarily the case. Some of us actually want to add value to the industry, and I think that's exactly what we're doing. Is we have a mission, and that's what gets me up every morning.
Yeah.
And working hard and working those long hours. It's having a mission, and at the end, having something different that other farms are not doing, or that you're pushing yourself and the industry to the edge of what's possible.
So I'm just curious, going back to what you guys do, why did you come up with this concept of the donation with the sales? Why is that important to you guys?
Yeah, so when we first talked about it, one of the first things that Andre said was like, look, I just want to help out. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. How are we going to do it? So we kind of looked at what we thought were some of the best brands in the world. Yeah. So we looked at brands like Tom's. We looked at, all the certified B companies that, like Andre said, are yes, obviously they're making money and they're making profit, but that's what enables them to help. So we wanted to show that there's a real opportunity to look at farming as a profitable business, because a lot of people our age, and Zach can attest to this being from Sherwood Park, they look at farming as what their grandpa used to do. And everybody wants to move to the city now and get an office job or whatever it may be. So we wanted to find a way to help ourselves out while helping out the community and painting this industry in a new light. For a lot of people, vegetables aren't sexy. We're trying to make that different and say, hey, there's a little bit more to this than you might think.
I don't know. Arugula is pretty sexy.
It is.
Especially in the background. Yeah?
We can work with you, Mario. This is good.
And so I was just curious, what made you choose those four initial items, I guess, to grow?
Well, I've in the beginning, I was doing lots of trials with
Yeah.
lots of microgreens, and it turns out those were like the easy ones to grow, and also they have distinct taste. So they're all very different to each other. You have the spicy one, the peppery one, like the arugula, the spicy one like radish, and the one that's like lettuce, like sunflower. And then you get your broccoli, kind of like the broccoli sprouts that you usually buy in stores. So I thought those were really interesting, and they were also really easy to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I could run trials on them, right? So the technology that I was developing require crops that were quickly grown, so that I can do adjustments as I go. To iterate the process, those crops were sort of like the easy ones, and people really like them too as well. People really like the arugula, the sunflower.
Okay, I'll put in my request that you guys start growing radicchio.
Okay.
Radicchio.
We got a lot of requests. We have a friend of ours that wants us to grow garlic.
Garlic, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a little of a stretch right now.
Yeah.
But I'm
we're experimenting. We can't, say too much, but maybe by the time this is out, the products will be out too.
Hey, what's the turnover in terms of the cycle for growing?
On average, about 13 days from seed to package.
From seed to package is 13 days?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons.
My arugula is going to take a little longer to grow.
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties of microgreens, and one of the reasons we focused on this. As Andre alluded to, you can iterate really quickly. So if you're getting started and you don't know, for example, how much water to put on them, you can grow 4 of them at the same time, and within 2 weeks you'll know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that adds to the sustainability thing. We use 99% less water than a regular vegetable because they grow so quickly that the water you're putting on them, which is very little, it gets absorbed all by the microgreen, and that's it. You don't need to overwater. It's very, very efficient from that perspective.
Okay, so when you say microgreen, just to explain to people, what does that really mean?
So I guess the best way to explain it will be between the sprout stage of the plant and the baby stage when it has the true leaf. So we are right in the middle between the sprout stage and the baby stage. It's at a point where it doesn't taste like a sprout. It actually has a taste like the full-grown plant
of its own,
of its own, but it's really strong because it's almost getting to the baby stage. So that's basically what it is. It's a stage in the plant growth.
Yeah, I like to tell people it's a smaller version of the bigger vegetable.
Yeah, and it's very fragile. Like if you wait 3 or 4 more days, you're past it. It's also the point at which they're most nutrient dense, which is obviously very valuable to anybody that's eating it.
So did you guys as kids growing up eat your greens?
No, I didn't.
I did. A bit of a struggle, but
that's changed obviously. But no, I used to hate it. I used to be like, no, get that stuff away from me.
Like basically for me as well. But spinach, I love spinach. I don't know why, but that was like the one thing I could kind of consistently eat. So
for me, it was fruit, right? Like I was always around fruit, like bananas, mangoes, and all this stuff. So I was
lucky.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys today.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us, Mario.
Mario, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll try not to butcher your names, but that was Andre Salazar, Zach Tambasco, and Guillermo Borges, who are the operators of ALLPA Vertical Farms in Calgary. This has been Calgary's podcast with Mario Tonaguzzi on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.